Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to this virtual workshop on blue political ecologies. This has been a collaborative effort with a team consisting of Emilia Weir from the University of Guelph, Andriamahefazafy from the GSPI at the University of Geneva, Marleen Hicks from Welfish, Mark Lamont from the Open University, and also initially Noella Grave, also from the University of Guelph. And particular thanks are due to Emilia Weir, who took on the main responsibility of coordinating all the inputs that went into making this workshop happen. So the way that we have organized this workshop is to focus on 4 key themes that are basically concentrated on paper presentations that will be recorded live and then made available on the website. So you can leave comments and questions and engage with the presentations in that manner if you don't catch them live. And then the final session on the 9th of November is going to be a live session, a live conversation, and we really encourage you to join that if you have the opportunity. And the focus of that discussion is going to be how can we mobilize for greater equity and justice? So I'll go on to briefly talk about the 4 other key themes. So the first one is around blue ecologies and how political ecology can be used as a framework to understand blue economy. So the concept of the blue economy is quite ubiquitous, and it's also covering a wide range of diverse activities and perspectives on ocean governance. It's become a very powerful discourse, and it's therefore a need to understand how it's being understood in different contexts, how it's being applied, and what the consequences are. So what this panel is focusing on is rich empirical case studies that try to explore the blue economy in practice, so to speak. The next session is focusing on decolonial perspectives in global fisheries governance. So global fisheries governance play an important role in the blue economy and in ocean governance more generally. In the post-aid era, international donors are in retreat, and there is a need to understand better the role that NGOs and other actors are taking on, and also to understand the challenges that regional fisheries management organizations are facing, partly as a consequence of the legacy of colonialism, and how they can be helped to be able to govern in a more equitable and sustainable manner. One promising option that is being explored in this panel to make governance more equitable and sustainable is to engage in capacity transfers. So basically reducing the existing capacity of fisheries fleets in regions like European Union and parts of Asia, and to engage in capacity transfer to developing countries like, for instance, Tanzania, a case that's being explored in this panel. Another key theme that's taken up in this panel for discussion is also the dual responsibility or ambitions of the state and the paradoxes that often ensue. Because on the one hand, states are very often quite ambitious. They engage in they have high aspirations for development, often under pressure from foreign interests. And on the other hand, they are also pledging to protect local communities, local resource-dependent communities. And these dual motivations often result in contradictions, paradoxes that need to be unpacked and understood in greater detail. The next section moves on to look at coastal transformation and spatial justice in the South and North. And it starts off with observing that historically humans have had an affinity for settling on the shore, as it offers opportunities for travel and trade on broad horizons. And currently, coastal zones are among the most densely populated and economically active zones in the world, and they're also home to ecologically often fragile and productive ecosystems. But being settled on the shores, while that offers benefits, it also offers risks in terms of especially climate change, like sea level rise, like the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, cyclones, etc. And there were also multiple pressures at work in the coastal zone, from infrastructure development projects, from blue economy interventions, and taken together, these interventions and projects are in many areas causing a profound transformation of coastal zones. And so what we want to explore is how these transformations are affecting local communities that are dependent on coastal resources. And we draw on social spatial scholarship, and particularly the notion of spatial justice, to explore these conflicts and the factors and the framings that are involved. Then we move on to look at how we can advance blue justice. So globally, local fishery people are very often suffering injustices, a range of different injustices that often emanate from global market economies and that result in social environmental conflicts. And the Environmental Justice Atlas helps to map out some of these conflicts. That is very helpful to get an overview of these different sorts of conflicts. These may be very diverse and very often they're quite complex. They involve political and economic factors, but very often they're also quite cultural in nature. And there is a need to better understand the cultural perspectives that are involved in coastal and ocean governance conflicts, which is one of the themes that this panel focuses on. And another theme that is coming out of this panel is the need to look at the politics of scale and how the politics of scale shape conflicts and issues of justice. Finally, we move on to the live discussion, which will be kicked off by 3 short talks. And basically, some of the key arguments that emanate out of these talks will be to discuss and critically assess the campaign that's called 30 by 30. That is a campaign to protect 30% of the world's areas, including the oceans, by 2030. And what is argued here is that this is deeply flawed because it doesn't pay sufficient attention to indigenous communities, to human rights, to issues of equity and governance. And also it's observed that very often local people are neglected, but they are often the ones that are best placed to actually govern their own resources. And then a center of this discussion is how academics can play a role through unveiling the consequences of blue economy interventions, but also through facilitating conversation dialogues between different stakeholders and actors involved in blue economy and blue justice. So we really hope that you will engage in the live discussions if you have the opportunity to do so, and also that you will engage with the other presentations through leaving comments, reflections, questions in the comments box at the end of this webpage. Thanks a lot, and we hope you enjoy the session.